Now we're coming to something a little bit more complicated, but also a lot of fun. That is, we're going to make 5 swatches, mini swatches, for different kind of shawl shapes. There are a lot of shapings for crochet shawl. This 5 is not the limitation, but I want to introduce this 5 shapes just so you know how increases and decrease work in them. Because the purpose of this course is actually for you to get to know how to make shaping, how to work with an increase, and how to work with a decrease. And so by introducing a number of shell shaping, it will actually help you to know what kind of possibility you have to create future project. And when you are searching for patterns, then you can kind of expect what type of increase in shaping or decrease in shaping techniques that they are using in the shawl shapes. For mini shawl B, it's a parallelogram shape. So we actually going to have 2 slants and two slopes, if you want to say it easier. We're going to start with a base, and then we're going to do decrease and increase at the same time. And that will maintain the stitch number for each row. So every row, we're not adding stitch, we're not decreasing stitch. It's maintaining the stitch number that we have set up. And then, but we're actually working increase and decrease at every row. To start mini shawl B, we'll set it up with a slip knot and 20 chain stitches. And we'll maintain that 20 stitches for the rest of the shawl shape. So we will not have any more stitches than 20. Okay, so here is our 20 chain stitches, and we're going to do row 1 with starting with a chain 1 that we do not count. So chain 1, and it tells us to single crochet until the end, so there's no instruction on doing any increase or decrease because we're still working on the base. So we work even stitch, we make 20 single crochet stitches in row 1. Okay, here 20 stitches done, single crochet, no increase, no decrease, flip for row 2. We're doing chain 1 and do not count this, and we're going to do a increase row actually. So we will do a single crochet 2 in the first stitch, and then we're going to work even. So it actually tells us to do a single crochet 2 in the first stitch, and then we're going to do the next 17 stitches even, and we'll do a decrease at the end of the row. So we already finished the increase, and we're going to work 17 of single crochet stitches. Okay, and now we have 2 more stitches left. So the reason why I wrote 17 stitches there in the middle is just because we are actually maintaining the stitch count. So I can give you an actual stitch number, and every row it will be the same. But if you want to do more than 20 stitches or less than 20 stitches, then you just remember this. When at row 2, when you're doing your increase and decrease row, you want to do a increase at the very first stitch. So single crochet 2 in the first stitch, and you work even in whatever number that's in the middle, and then leave out the last 2 stitches not work. And then for the last 2 stitches, we're going to work a single crochet 2 together. So if you have, like when I have 20 stitches, I use the first one to do an increase, and I have the 17 in the middle, so I have 18 now, and plus the 2 last stitches that I made into a single crochet 2 together. So there's 20 in total that I used. And then I produce still 20 stitches because I increased 1 stitch at the beginning and I decrease a stitch at the end. So we still have 20 stitches even. And so if you start with a different number, like if you start with 10 stitches, then you will still get 10 stitches after this increase and decrease row. We're in row 3, and row 3 is something different that we haven't done before. We're going to do a skip. So if you don't know what is a skip, I actually made a tiny tutorial you can find in the tutorial section to know what is a skip. But we're going to skip a stitch in row 3 and then do an increase at the end. So this row is still a increase and decrease row, but instead of doing a single crochet 2 together, we're going to do a skip 1 stitch to make that decrease happen. And so we're going to skip the first stitch. So here is my chain that I made, the one that you see over here. This is the chain. And then right underneath the chain is my first stitch. We're going to ignore that, like don't work it, pretend it's not there. And we're going to start from the second stitch. So start the second stitch, single crochet 18 stitches. That means single crochet until the last stitch. So leave your last stitch open, don't work. So work 18, single crochet stitch. So I skip 1 stitch, work 18, and I'm at my last stitch. And to make back up my stitch count back to 20, I need to do a increase here. So 18 plus 2, that can give me 20 again. So I'm inserting hook into that last stitch and do 2 single crochet into that last stitch. And by the end of row 3, I still have 20 stitches, but I'm doing it a little bit differently. I'm doing it by skipping a stitch at the beginning instead of doing a decreased stitch. And now we're going to repeat row 2 to 3 for row 4 to 11. So from row 4 now on to row 11, it's a repeat of row 2 and 3 that we've just done. And we still have 20 stitches by the end. So here I have done 11 rows in total, and this one is actually very easy to count your rows. It's still, we ended our last row with 20 stitches, and then if you want to know if this is your 11th row or not 10 or not 12, then you can count from the bottom. So this ripple edge is the chain stitches in our setup. So the stitch above it is our row 1. So 1, and the stool is the back of a single crochet stitch. So 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we actually have 11 rows now. And if you like to continue the practice, you can continue it as instructor. Just keep on repeating row 2 and row 3 until your desired length. And then you can cut the yarn to block later. So I will also end with a chain stitch just to secure. And cut. And this is our mini shawl bee.